Greetings. Welcome to another video in our series of videos on liberalizing inter-African trade in wild meat. This video series is brought to you by the African Wildlife Economy Institute at Stellenbosch University in South Africa in partnership with the Atlas Network. Thank you for watching.
The last video introduced non-tariff barriers and explained how the AfCFTA mechanism categorizes them. This video presents the first set of recommendations developed from the research specific to the AfCFTA mechanism. In this video, I move on to presenting the findings of the research and the related policy recommendations. As described earlier in the series, an outcome of the research was that the barriers faced by the wild meat industry are not all barriers that the AfCFTA mechanism can reasonably be expected to resolve. The recommendations are split into two categories, and this is therefore the first technical recommendation related to the mechanism itself, and that will be the focus of this entire video. Broadly, there is need for further technical capacity to be built within the wild meat industry on the specific subjects of the AfCFTA and the AfCFTA's non-tariff barrier mechanism. As far as the AfCFTA mechanism is concerned, there is a lack of awareness of the potential and purpose of the AfCFTA NTB mechanism, and it may be that the smaller industries such as the wildlife meat industry are not being reached by AU-level capacity building and stakeholder engagement. I recommend the development of training material to guide stakeholders through a broad overview of the foundations and core concepts of international trade to facilitate further engagement with and insight into the potential of the AfCFTA. I also recommend the development of training material to guide importers or exporters of wild meat through the use and purpose of the NTB mechanism. There is a lack of access to data captured by the AfCFTA mechanism. This data, the downloading of a record of resolved, recently reported and ongoing NTBs reported, will enable both researchers and industry to make targeted suggestions and decisions about what to do in terms of resolving barriers proactively. It is a barrier to the industry and researchers to have to follow a route of requesting data through focal points. Reliance on filtering options from the website itself, for example, is not adequate either. Proactive prevention, removal, or mitigation of NTBs should be prioritized. If barriers are not proactively addressed, industry may find itself in a position where it cannot guarantee supply and encourage investment. The removal of barriers is an exercise that cannot be achieved by one group alone. The proactive reduction or removal of NTBs would benefit from mixed methodology and interdisciplinary research, as both qualitative and quantitative research across trade law, economics, science, specifically animal health, social science, and conservation sciences. Different backgrounds can contribute to proactive action towards NTB removal as opposed to a reliance on the reactive resolution of barriers. Research must be conducted with the practical effect of decisions in mind and with input from industry. It should include the development of wild meat-specific guidelines and technical capacity. There is a lack of certainty and transparency during the NTB reporting and resolution process once the complaint is passed on to the member country concerned. It is of little use to have international guidelines or law if at the national level, where in this case the active resolution of the barrier reported is addressed, there is no mandated guideline and responsibility assigned in national legislation. It opens up the opportunity to evade responsibility for inaction or to evade responsibility for a decision made. It could also result in uncertainty about which department has the mandate to act. I recommend that member countries develop domestic legislation or regulations that mandate the establishment of a national monitoring committee and national focal point. They should detail specific timeframes and responsibility, as well as other necessary institutional responsibility and mandates, and they should state consequences for a failure to act, as well as applicable remedies available. In this video, I shared the following recommendations. Build broad industry awareness and capacity related to international trade. Build specific capacity in the wild meat industry related to the AfCFTA. Build specific capacity in the wild meat industry related to the AfCFTA NTB mechanism. Facilitate eased access to NTB data from the AfCFTA NTB mechanism. Prioritize proactive prevention, removal, or mitigation of NTBs, and increase certainty and transparency by establishing national monitoring committees and national focal points through national legislation in member countries. In the next video, I share recommendations beyond the scope of the NTB mechanism.
Increasing the trade in wild meat across the African continent is a key research area for the Institute. We see international trade of wildlife products as critical to the conservation of landscapes and wildlife on the continent and to the enhancement of local livelihoods and to community well-being. For more information on our work, please visit our website. Also join us on social media. You'll find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you again for watching this video.